Yo, what is up? It is Zach Tilton, aka Kimono Fox here. Today we're going to talk about some sound design on drums, drum sound design. I'm going to do a couple videos like this, I believe, to show how to create maybe kick drums, snare drums, toms, hi-hats from scratch using Serum and Ableton's audio effects. So this is exciting. Today we're going to talk about snare drums and how I like to go about creating them from scratch. So here we go. If you look in Ableton here on this first track, this is what I do. This is a snare drum I created using Serum and Ableton's audio effects, and this is what it sounds like. Boom. It's pretty decent. It's a decent starting point, and from there you can manipulate it and make it your own, which is cool. I like making my own drums sometimes. But alright, so I guess let's just hop right in there. So I'll start by pulling up an instance of Serum. Boom. Which is if you don't know what Serum is, it's a very powerful software synthesizer, great for sound design. So we'll go to the first oscillator, select basic shapes, so we can, hop between maybe a sine wave, square wave, sawtooth, and also when you think about the sound of a snare drum, there's like a fundamental frequency and some noise. It sounds like white noise, and the transient is quick. So I guess let's start with the ADSR, the attack, decay, sustain, and release. We're going to want that attack down all the way, sustain down probably all the way, and then we can start messing with we want the release down all the way as well, and then we can start messing with the decay to find the transient, the shape of how the snare drum will sound. So let's start playing that. Let me select that. Let me arm that track. Boom. I like to use like an F for some reason. I don't know why. It just sounds like a snare drum to me. But so that's just the basic sine wave here. I'm gonna go to a sawtooth wave though. I think let's try a saw wave. So then let's add some white noise to it, because thinking about the sound of a snare drum, think about the top end of it. It's like so we want a fundamental frequency, which is going to be F, and it's a tone. That's why we're using a waveform, and then we want to add noise for the percussive aspect of it. So there's that. So now we can start messing with the level of the two oscillators, the noise oscillator and the saw wave. So I'm going to kind of want there to be more noise than tone. And now we can start playing with the decay a little bit here to really shape the sound of the snare drum. So that sounds pretty good right there. Maybe turn up the oscillator, the fundamental, which happens to be F. So that's cool. We can also play with the wavetable form here to see what wave shape we want to use. We can always mess with this later too. So I'm gonna stay at the saw wave for now. I'm gonna go into Serum's effects. I'm gonna add some distortion. So this tube distortion, just for some extra harmonics up top. I'm going to add a compressor to it. Put that first in the chain. I might do a multi-band compressor here, just to squash it on all levels there. Turn up the gain a little bit. Turn up the attack. Maybe turn down the release a little bit. Doesn't sound like a snare drum, but it will. Let's see what else. Probably an EQ. Put that at the top of the chain. Turn that on. Let's do a high pass, and then let's really highlight the fundamental frequency so that we could sweep around and try to find that. Turn the Q up a little bit. This is usually where the punch of the snare drum is. So it's going to be lower than that. Sounds. Let's really boost it. That's about where it is. I'm going to turn the gain down a little bit in the Q. Mess with the decay a little bit more. Alright, I'm going to add a little reverb for some space. Very subtly, really short decay. Whoops. I like where that's sitting. I'm going to turn the mix down a little bit so it's barely there. Cool. Alright, and then I'm going to add some delay in Serum's audio effects rack. And we're going to turn off the BPM. And we're going to turn the feedback down all the way so it's just one repeat. Then we can mess with this. I'm going to link the two sides together. But I'm going to keep it in mono. I'm going to mess with the delay time. I'll do like a little slat back delay, so anywhere between like 80 and 140 milliseconds. I'm just going to turn the mix down so it's barely there, just to give it some width. Alright, moving on. That's all I'm going to do in Serum for right now. I'm going to add a saturator with some soft clipping. Boom. Saturator. Just to add some more harmonic content on the upper level of the snare drum. Let's give it about 8 dB of drive. So let's compensate and do -8 on the output. Let's see it. So just adding some distortion to it. From there, I would do an EQ 8, and just to to mix it in a little bit to take out the unwanted frequencies with a high pass filter. And we could see where the fundamental is right here. And we can either bold that or we could take away from that if it's too much. So right now I guess I'm just gonna bold it just to see what we're working with here. But won't make it too noticeable. And then I also like to pull out, like when you mix a snare drum, there's usually a lot of unwanted frequencies at the 500 hertz level. It's where like a ringing, that ugly ringing exists. So I'm gonna look for that. That's probably where it is, that boxiness. So I'm just gonna pull a little bit of that out at 539 hertz in this case. Maybe make the Q a little bit smaller. Okay, and then I'm probably going to add, also when I'm mixing a snare drum, not the attack, but the punch, the snap, I should say, of the snare drum usually exists around 3,000 hertz. So I'm going to add a little bit of that in here. Let's see. Without it, I'm going to sweep around to find it. Yeah, we'll do that for now. And then from there I'm going to add a glue compressor with soft clipping on. And this is just going to really add the snap of the snare drum here. We can shape the sound and shape the transient by using a compressor. So what I'm going to do is turn the attack up so we can let the transients pass through. And I'm going to turn the release down. And I'm going to turn soft clipping on again. Let's keep listening to this. See, as I bring the threshold down, it sounds punchier. It's also making it quieter, so we have to compensate with the makeup gain here. But I'm really going to squash it here, just to make it punchy. See, before, after. It's also a little bit louder, so that's not helping my case, but alright, so now we can kind of mess around with the wave shape again, the wave table. Also messing with the levels of the two oscillators. This is a square wave, it looks like. That's a saw wave. I think the saw wave sounds pretty good. You know, you just have a little bit of the fundamental frequency, and the rest is all noise. So from here, I would add a vocoder, just to add even more harmonic content in the upper level of the snare drum. So this is with the dry wet up all the way. I would do this if I was, you know, making a clap from scratch, but in this case, I'm just using it to add a little bit more content, harmonic content, in the higher register of this sound. So I'm gonna pull the dry wet down, just to make it. This is making it a little bit snappier. So without it, with it, you can bring it down even more, just so it's barely there. Boom, it's sounding pretty good. And then from here, I'm gonna add another reverb to give it some more space. Can't spell reverb. Here we go. Boom. I'm gonna bring the decay down, so it's barely there. It's really short reverb. This is with the dry wet all the way up, but I'm gonna bring that down, alright? Just so it's barely there. And then I'm gonna do a delay. It's usually the last thing I put in my chain when I'm making a snare drum. I'm gonna turn off sync with BPM and turn on time so I can control it by millisecond again. Turn the feedback down all the way. You can hear what it's doing. I'm just having fun, I'm sorry. But yeah, so I'm gonna do the same thing as we did earlier in Serum, but you know, just do like a slapback delay, so anywhere between like 50 milliseconds and 140. So 123 sounds pretty cool, but just maybe even shorter than that, shorter delay. Let's try that. That's just giving it a little bit of width. So I would say that's a great place to start. Let's compare it to our original one, my regular startup one. It's a little different, but that's what's cool about this, is that you can go in, dive in, do this process, and every time you do it, you might have a completely different snare drum out of it. And then from there, you can go in and mess with the ADSR again. You know, make it shorter, make it longer. The decay, of course. You can mess with the waveform for the fundamental frequency. Right now, like, we have a saw wave, square. Let's see what the sine wave sounds like. Sine wave sounds pretty good too. So, and then from there, you know, we can start making our own samples and stuff. We can resample this. So let's take the audio from that Serum track, their snare track, and send it right into this audio track. So what I did there is I recorded the actual audio, you know, and then you can save this audio into your sample library, and then, you know, you have all your own snares or whatever. So here's snare, get it right to the transient. Boom. I like creating my own snare drums and kick drums, because then it's all original, you know. You don't have to. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of perks with using samples. There's nothing wrong with that. I actually use that more than I make my own, but it's always cool to be able to create your own sounds. And then, you know, you can reverse it. Whatever. Do whatever you want. Now you have a snare drum that you can save. You can repitch it. Put it on complex. Change the pitch of it. You can do whatever you want. Make it a tom, who knows. But yeah, this is a cool way to, you know, start making your own drum samples and sounds and have all original, you know, sound design. So hopefully that was helpful and inspiring, and I'll see you guys next time.